or NBFCs is where there is a lot of confusion. There is one school of thought which believes that the entire supply chain will get disrupted. There would be stress and new disbursements would be under pressure. However, long-standing watchers are of the view that this is more like a storm in a teacup. It's not going to change the basic business dynamics of NBFCs, which continue to enjoy the advantage of lending to borrowers which are not served or serviced by the bank. So to understand the ground reality, I have with me Mr. H.P. Singh, Chairman and Managing Director of Satin Credit Care Network. Mr. Singh, good morning and thank you for joining us. Now, we can both argue both ways on the effect of demonetization. The standard answer is short-term problem, long-term positive. But let's go beyond the standard answer, because this is the standard answer which I'm getting from everyone. What is your understanding on when the business will recover? And you have to give me a frank and a realistic answer.
Well, I'll give you a frank and a realistic answer. But I think on the older maxim that I can't change that it's a short-term pain and a long-term gain. I'll stand by that also. But my realistic thing is, I think it was all based on how the supply of currency reaches these places wherever our borrowers are situated. So as the situation eases off, starting from the 10th of November, I think it is bound, the collections are bound to go up from on there, and we've seen that across the trend. If you look at the matrix all across, so in the first week initially we had let's got 20% collection, which has increased from there on, and it has reached now a collection efficiency of close to about 75 to 80%. So as the supply side increases, as whatever the consumption growth, which really also got a little bit hit, which led to somewhere the problem in getting these guys getting their wages, their payments from the vendors and everything. So as that eases off, this will probably catch on and it will come back to normal. We've enjoyed a collection efficiency rate of about 99.5%. I think we'll come back to that.
But let's get into specifics, Mr. Singh, because reports suggest that the Maharashtra government is forming a sit to probe violations of norms in loans, and also reports of collections being impacted in Maharashtra as well as Uttar Pradesh. Tell us how grave the situation has been in these specific pockets, especially since the government announced demonetization and the old note ban.
Well, I can talk about UP, where we have a large exposure. Maharashtra, we have a very small exposure, and our exposure is close to about 3% only in Maharashtra. But if I talk specifically about UP, exactly this is how it is panning out to you, which I said in my earlier statement, that as the supply side eases off, we had the collection efficiency was close to about 15%, 20%. And as the supply side is now increasing day by day, it has still last week now reached a collection efficiency across UP to close to about 70-75%. Now, coming down from 15% to about 75%, I think there were the initial hits. There were a lot of rumors which were going around. There were a lot of things, as supply side was easing off. People were a little wary of repayments and everything. So there was a lot which was adding up to the whole thing. Now, as it eases off and as everything, gets better and better, the collection efficiency is the barometer from where you can actually see it that, it is reaching now a level where probably in about a month's time, once this all settles down to this thing, it'll reach the previous figures as such.
Just for the benefit of our viewers, and I really don't know the law of the land, for MFIs, do you think state government will have will have power to exercise any changes in law, or everything has to be centralized and has to be controlled by Reserve Bank of India? And the reason why I'm asking you this question is because there is talk of a farm loan waiver. There is talk that farmers will not be forced to pay back. If that has to happen, I'm sure that will have implications on NBFCs and MFIs.
See, if we're talking of waivers, I think what probably the Reserve Bank of India does also understand, and if you really look at the broader paradigm, any waiver will definitely impact the credit history of the borrowers at the bottom of the pyramid and people who've never been banked. So our sense is that even if the state government or maybe the central government does come into specifics as that, It probably will not affect, because I think by 2010, when the Andhra Pradesh crisis had this thing, it was a very, very clear shift in where RBI is the sole regulator which actually works on NBFC, MFIs. And I think, probably that stays in for a very long time, and it's probably going to be there.
No, so if I can just ask you a follow-up there. There were some waivers done, and then from what we are understanding is that now the MFI sector falls under the purview of the Reserve Bank of India, and therefore anything with regards to waivers or relaxations to borrowers, etc., is not a decision that state governments can make, but it's something that has to come only and only from the Reserve Bank of India. Now, can you clear the air here? Because a lot of people, I'll tell you why this fear is. A lot of people believe that because of elections that are happening or will going to happen in the state of Uttar Pradesh, if the government comes out with some waivers, it's a big negative for a company like you, which has got a large exposure. Does the state government have that authority, or will it solely lie with the Reserve Bank?
I think if you look at the circulars coming in from Reserve Bank of India, we just got a circular yesterday where the dispensation for asset classification, which was earlier for 60 days, has been increased to 90 days. And so where our feeling is that, technically RBI remains in command in terms of MFIs. And all Mount states, definitely yes. I think, elections have been held earlier also. Probably this is the time where a major event has happened. That is why the elections have taken that kind of a cue overall. But my own sense is that I think, given the situation of looking at the credit histories, the credit bureaus, the RBI being the regulator over there, I think, this probably will not happen.
So net, what is your FY17 AUM outlook, and do you think a 40 to 50% AUM growth is possible for the year after that?
See, I can't hazard a guess for March 17 basically, because we've got 3 months left now technically, and as disbursement, because we've not been able to withdraw money from our bank accounts because again of demonetization, and whatever collections are coming into the field, we are disbursing that. So as that situation eases off, we get into the cashless mode also, March 17 is not something, which we are probably looking at. But definitely as things get back to normalcy, March 18 will definitely come back in, probably not the way the growth was happening earlier, but definitely yes, I think the growth will start happening.
So Mr. Singh, closing comments. Now everyone who indicated to us earlier that demonetization is short-term negative, long-term positive, was working with the presumption that remonetization will happen in 50 days. Now let's be real. Currency has been sucked out, but the fresh currency is not got back into the system. There are all kind of numbers from 4 lakh crore to 6 lakh crore, but the grain of truth here is that remonetization has not happened. So to talk about that earlier assumption, which was based on the fact that demonetization will have an impact, and by the time remonetization will happen, the economy will be able to pick up pace. Do you think we need to really revisit that?
My sense is, I think, if you really look at the numbers which are coming in, I think, it's a gradual process, but my own sense is that probably even if we get about 70% of the currency back into circulation, I think, things will start moving on from there on. And we can see week by week, this is definitely increasing. So my sense is that remonetization in whatever phase, the way it is coming in, though it's gradually slow, but definitely I think it will probably pick on by January. We'll be able to see a larger sense of remonetization effects based on collection efficiency coming in, But also to get back onto the point of long-term this thing over there. A clear sense is that I think, it is very imperative to understand that that at the bottom of the pyramid, definitely I think there are avenues which will not be there. Financial inclusion is the main agenda of MFIs that will probably remain over there, and that remains the main source of financial inclusion. It moves ahead with the government also. I think so probably, you just can't disregard that and say that, okay, fine. It's a short-term pain, which is definitely, yes, there because of a large event which has happened. But definitely, if you look at the long term, you don't have alternatives technically which are there, which will help the financial inclusion agenda as well as the people who are unbanked and who still want to get it back into the organized financial system over there. There are unorganized systems which were there prevalent also, but that probably will see a very clear-cut division where MFIs now operate. So this is going to be definitely a very long-term incentive for people at the bottom of the pyramid.
Okay. we'll leave it at that, and we wish you all the best, and hopefully some clarifications come forth sooner rather than later as well, for the benefit of the investors in this sector as well. All the best for a great 2017. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
That's that in credit here. Being candid to the tune that he can